a few minutes, give some couple of minutes, and then we're gonna start. How is the project otherwise?
For me, I'm working with Dr. Ala and Dr. Salma. Almost Dr. Salma now, she get almost 98 response.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think we're thinking just to narrow it to California and Michigan because we couldn't find like statewide.
Sure. We can. It's just to show.
Adjusted.
Yeah.
Right?
That's good. Yeah. To show
So we, with Dr. Ala, we went far now. We're in the result process, I could say. We're in the final touches. And with Dr. Salma, me and her and Dr. Sulafa too, who are discussing that to narrow it just only for the Michigan and California. And if that's the case, I didn't meet her yet again. We will just be writing the result and doing the analysis.
I think if we limit it, it will be useful instead of
instead of make it wide, because the response is really slow.
Sure, and it needs a little push from organizations to get national response, but if it's local, you can, with connection, you can get it. So
yeah, and now most of the response she received is it is from the California state and the Michigan state. So we can conclude that in just two state and like write our conclusion that further study for more states needed to have more comparison.
Yep. Sounds good. So hi everyone, welcome to the meeting. Alaikum salam wa rahmah. So today's meeting, we're gonna go over a couple of topics, and Mr. Hoiba, thank you for leading this meeting. So here's I'm gonna share the
screen. Yeah, I will share it now.
So this is agenda for today. We're gonna go over some examples, and some of you fellows will present. So go ahead, Hiba. Thank you.
Okay. Can you just click on me to share my screen?
Yes, it's up to you now. Go ahead.
Okay, so can we just over there here. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone, and hopefully you are all doing okay and your families in a good shape in Sudan. Okay, so today I'm going to present quantitative data analysis. And so to start, we need to identify what is quantitative data analysis mean. So just give me a second. It means to analyze data that are number-based or converting categorical data to a number without losing any value to measure an outcome of interest. That's the definition. So example of a categorical data converted to a number is age. Age, we have like a young age, middle, and elderly. We can just convert that number. And cholesterol level, we could say low, medium, and high. And BMI, the same from categorical. We can just do it number. So and then we analyze it. In general, quantitative analysis is used for three goals. So the first one, it is used to compare difference across groups. We want to see like the means difference between groups or median or any what our research questions to compare it with other study or other group. It is used to evaluate the relationship between two variables, like if there is a positive relationship, is these two variables or multiple variables going in the same direction. It is used to test hypotheses in a scientific, rigorous manner. That's mean, does we reject the null or do we fail to reject the null? Does our question is really has has impact in real life. Like, for example, does our vaccine really work? COVID vaccine does really work and protect our the community? That's could be our research question, and that's when we test our hypothesis, we will see like the p-value or confidence interval, and from that we will see, do we really reject or we fail to reject. So quantitative analysis has two branches: descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. Inferential statistics. So before we define both of these, just we need to understand a point before we go further. To comprehend the distinction between these two branches of statistics, we must first understand two key terms. These are the words population and sample. Let's define population in a statistic. So in a statistic, the population is the entire group of people whom you want to study. Like, for example, we want to study the consumer in Costco member, the Costco member in the United States. So this is our population that we're targeting. We want to see what's in common between these people. So the sample we will take, of course, we're not going to be able to contact everyone in this population. So we'll take a sample, we will do a survey. So sample meaning this is a smaller set of accessible people from the target population. Now we can define each branch. So our focus today is about descriptive. So we will focus in that part particularly. Descriptive statistics focus in describing the sample, and these can be represented in form of graphs and measure of central tendency or measure of variabilities, which is the variance range, and also I'm not writing, I didn't write it here, sorry, and standard deviation. This is called measure of variability. Inferential statistic, the other part, aim to make a prediction about the population. And we can use probability to determine our confidence level. Are we confident to report like that? For example, the Costco consumer, they all love the brand of Kirkland, or just because of the price? So how confident we answer this question, and that's through the confidence interval. So let's dig in descriptive statistics. They assist you in comprehending the details of your sample. When writing out your analysis, descriptive statistics come first, followed by inferential, statistics. However, depending on your study objective and question, they may be your only choice, just the descriptive statistic. You don't need to go first. And for inferential statistics, so just to understand what's it, because it's keep repeating, it's test when we test like the t-test and the ANOVA and the correlation, a linear correlation, in the multiple regression. So this is type of the inferential statistics. Common descriptive statistic test we use like the mean, which is mathematically the average of a range of values. As we know, it's the sum of the numbers we have and divided by the total number. So I think all of us know the mean. So median is the numerical midpoint of a range of numbers. And if the data set is an odd number, the median is the middle value. That's mean what? If I have a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so here my median would be number 3. So if the data set is even, sorry here for the spelling mistake, the median is the number between the number. The median is between the two middle numbers. So we have the mode is the data set most frequent number, the number that you see it more frequent in your data. That's the mode. Standard deviation. The standard deviation measure the dispersion of a numerical range and how close all numbers are to the mean. It's just give us an idea like how this scattered data is closer to the mean. What does that mean? The standard deviation will be low if most of the statistics are near to the average, which is the mean. Conversely, if the number widely away from the mean, the standard deviation will be large. So we'll have a wide range. So last test we can do for a statistic, squareness, determine how symmetric numerical range is. Do they tend to form a smooth bell curve in the graph centers, or do they skew to the left or right? So this is the example here. This is if we have a normal distribution, and usually we assume that we have a normal distribution when our data sample is more than 20 samples. We just assume that the mean and the median is all equal. If it is less, then we have, depend when we plot it, we will look to these curves. If we look to the right side, we will see that we have a positively skewed, where mode compares the median and the mean. And usually, what we look for the tail, usually the tail is the mean. So we look just for the direction. Is it going positively or going negative? Percentage. Summarize our describe multiple discrete events. And that, what does it mean? So for example, if you want to give a prize for the most, let me just think about it. For who's going to take the name of best shooter in NBA. So what we will do is test every player and see how many times they hit the ball inside the basket and how many times they fail. And then we divide it by the total numbers. And accordingly, you see the percentage of the shoot that go inside the net. So here, this is in how it's look like when we do it in statistic software. We put our data set, and here we have an example of person and weight. Here we have our sample is 10%, and this is the weight for every way correspond to each one of them. And when we do it in the software, that's what we will expect. So here, like for example, the mean is 72 and the median 74, and standard deviation is 10. And if you just notice, like it's from 55 to 81, which is a very wide range. Because of that, we have a wide standard deviation. Why descriptive statistic matter? They provide a macro and a micro picture of your data. This means they help you grasp both the big picture and the details. Second, they assist you in identifying potential error in the data. For example, if an average is significantly higher than expected, that we expect something, and then when it's come out, we see there is really huge difference. So that's make us return back and see our data, how we collect it, and look back to our study. So third, this descriptive statistic might help you decide which inferential statistic method to apply. Do we need to go and do more comparison, like between two groups, like my study and the mean of other study, having the same subject or questions we want to answer? Inferential statistic, just this is a summary for the inferential statistic, so we can know the difference between the descriptive and inferential statistic. So inferential statistics are used to create a prediction about what you would expect to find in the entire population and test your hypothesis. Is really what we are assuming really exists in life? there are two common types of predictions that researchers use. One is about difference between groups, is really that there is a difference between groups, or it just there is no difference apply, or it is false positive, false negative. What's your result is depend. Relations between variables, like is it like if that a variable increased, is the outcome really increased? For example, the relationship between high cholesterol and MI. Is there is really relationship? If we have increase in cholesterol, we do have a increased risk of MI. It could answer that type of question, the relationship. So here are some tests that we use in the branch of inferential statistic, like t-test. Compare the mean, which is the average of two groups of data, to see if they are statistically significant. In other words, do their means standard deviation and skewness difference significantly? We need to answer that. So example for this, we want to see a difference in blood pressure between two groups. For example, we have a diet group and medication, and then we will measure and see the difference in mean and standard deviation. ANOVA, it's analysis of variance, similar to t-test, but it compares the means of multiple groups. In this case, we can have more than two groups. Example for that is difference in blood pressure between multiple groups, diet, medication, and no intervention. Correlation analysis. This analysis looks at the relationship between two variables. In other words, if one variable rise, does the other rise, fall, or remain unchanged? That's a question we want to see. For example, if the average temperature rise, do ice cream sales rise as well? Subjectively, we would anticipate some form of link between these two variables, but correlation analysis allow us to measure the relation scientifically. Like if really there is a difference, or just as our hypothesis, is it true or not? Multiple regression. This is similar to correlation in that it analyzes the relationship between variables, but it goes a step further in the understanding cause and effect between variables rather than just whether they move together. And also it can serve as detecting confounder. Is really like there is a true relation or there is a confounder? That's what we need. The multiple regression answer for it. So this is the reference I use, the grad coach. I found it in the app of Telegeriatric, which is really useful and help me to understand a little bit about quantitative, and hopefully everyone like get something from this presentation. And thank you very much for your listening, and please feel free if you have any question to ask.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This is really great presentation. Thank you, Hiba. And really informative, concise, and to the point. And I think with practice, you're gonna make sense out of all this. It's easy to get lost with all these definitions and
if you want me, I can
yes.
next week when we do to the practice, when we go, I can just go briefly through it again, so we can have more like what we're saying and how we measure that. If you would like me to do that.
That would be great. So what I think, if you can do that, that would be great. I'm going to just touch base, and I'm going to take a few minutes to show just the basics of what you said. I'm going to just, if you can stop, I will stop sharing. And I will share my screen. So again, to reiterate, is just how you can do that. Let's say with simple Excel file or simple Google Sheet. You can do it with SPSS or advanced tools for analysis. So for instance, if you have this number of patients, players, whatever. And then if you take the, let's say, the age or how many shoots they do, or whatever variable here, you will add their weight, their average of something. So you want to analyze this. So to start with a basic thing, the minimum, what the minimum age here, you can use an equation here. You put equal sign, you put MIN, the standard for minimum, and then you highlight the data that you want to analyze. So if you do that, this will be shown here as 15. So the 15 is the lowest number. And you can do the same if you want to do the maximum. You just put equal sign, max, and then you put the data set, this data set in the parentheses. And then it will show you it's the maximum is 80 and so forth. So all this, you can do it using an equation. The total, you do equation with count. The mean, you can just put an average, equal sign average. The mode, you put mode. Standard deviation, you can just the abbreviation is SDDEV. And the skew, you can also calculate that with the skew. So this is basically how you can do that. You can get the total number here also with count. So you can run count and it will show you how many items or numbers or persons here. So this for the basics of the analysis. You can do that using the tools in Google Sheet or in Excel. But as well, we can go over the SPSS as far as more details, and you can present that in table format, or you can convert that into graph format. But thank you so much, Hiba. If you have time next week, maybe you can touch base or demonstrate some details of the other concepts that you mentioned. Thank you.
Okay, sure, definitely. I don't mind.
Thanks. Any questions for Hiba? Please raise your hand or go ahead. I think you did a great job. I think everything is clear unless someone is disagreeing with me or having questions. If not, we can go ahead to the next.
Can I like upload this if so one want to in the app? I'm really very naive in technology. Do we have this or we don't do that every year? Is just people need to represent that from the start? Do we need like to upload this PowerPoint in the?
If you prefer to upload, that will be great. So there is in the app there is a way to upload your file, and you can add. So I'll show you how. If people wants to do that, they can go to. So in the main screen.
We're not seeing your shirt. Oh yeah.
Right. So now, if you go to the main screen, there is a plus button here. If you click on it, you have options to get either upload a file, like a video, for instance. If you have some videos you want to upload from your computer, there is a file here, number 2. You can add the file. You can add PowerPoint, PDF, Excel, any type of file. And when you click here, it will ask you the name of the file. You upload the file, and then if you want to add some details, some notes if you want, and if you want to show that to the group, just click this here. If you have the file already on your, let's say, Google Drive, you can just copy the shared link here. You don't have to download and upload again here. If you have different ones, let's say you have another one, you can add another similar link or a related link. If you want to add an image showing some, so that just with the image you can tell people what this file about, that's also an option.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for the question. in the chat. Okay, thank you. Everyone is saying thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor. And I think we have now, Doctor. If no one has another question, we can have like 10 seconds to think
Yes.
about anything or tell us anything.
So you can share your question in the chat, and if Yam is ready, we can go to the next
Yes.
section. Thank you.
Yes, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Okay, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Alaikum assalam wa rahmah. Yes.
Yes.
Clear.
Sorry. Thank you, Hiba, for your presentation. It's very helpful, especially for mine. I was supposed to be with Dr. Ali as a partner, but due to the current situation in Sudan, this is understandable. The internet is not going to be sufficient. So I'm going to try my best to do the presentation myself, inshallah. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, hopefully this will work. Okay. Do you guys see my screen? The double screen? Let me see.
Not yet. No.
Not yet. Okay. How about now? Okay. Let me see if I have the permission. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. Okay. Is it sharing? Oh, I have to put share. Is it sharing right now?
Yes, it's coming.
Okay, it should be like double screen between the article and the CASP. Okay.
It shows only one screen.
It's showing one screen.
But we can just over it. Go
This is the one moving now.
Yes, it's moving.
I'll go over it.
Yeah, just.
Okay. Because make sure I'm sharing the right one. Okay. Okay. So the presentation basically is about doing like a review over an article using the critical appraisal. There is a set of questions that I need to go over and analyze a certain an article of my choice. So what I did is I went to JAMA network and chose an article. The article that I chose is talking about the Association of Geriatric Co-Management and 90-day postoperative mortality among patients aged 75 years and older with cancer. Okay, so the first set of questions in the CASP, there's a certain set of questions, depends on the type of the study or the type of the article. So mine was a cohort study, so I chose the set of cards. I am not sure if you're seeing my screen of CASP moving.
Yes.
Go through the question. This is why I was wanting to share the exact screen. So the screen that is showing is showing only the CASP or the article as well.
The CASP. But
the CASP.
what
Okay, let me do a new.
You can stop.
Yeah.
Screen
put a
and
new
then
share.
And then put the whole window instead of only.
Yes. I think this should work, right?
Yes.
Yes. So it's showing both the questions and the article, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the first question. They're asking if did the yes, the study did address a focus issue. They're trying to study this main question was, is the collaboration between geriatrician and surgeons in the perioperative care of older patients with cancer associated with outcomes. So they want to know the outcome. So this is their main question. They're trying to study the association of geriatric co-management, specifically in a 90-day postoperative mortality among patients aged 75 years old and old with cancer. So basically they're studying if the geriatric co-management is going to affect the mortality rate or basically reduce the mortality rate. So this is a specific question about the study. Cohort recruited in an acceptable way, and they actually explained in the study how they did the recruitment. I'm going to increase this. So what happened is they had, in the beginning, they started with 11,509 patients age more equal or more than 75 years old, with a new visit to the surgery clinic from February 2015 to February 2018. After that, they have some exclusion criteria. So they excluded 891 with no procedure within the 60 days of visit. So they want actually the people with procedures. 8,641 with procedures with length of stay of 0 days. So they basically will if the procedure, there is no stay in the hospital, they excluded the patient because they need to also study a certain time inside the hospital after the procedure. So they ended up with 1,970 with procedures with hospital length, hospital stay length to 1 day or more, equal to 1 or more days within the 60 days of the initial visit. So now they have to exclude 78 patients were excluded. Mortality status could not be verified. That's why they excluded those 78 patients. So they ended up with 1,892 included in the study of the cohort. So of these 1,892, 1,020 received the geriatric co-management and 872 received only surgical service management with no geriatric co-management. So I think this was the recruiting for and the selection for this study was acceptable. Next question was the exposure accurately? They also did this the exposure was accurately measured because they measured so many criteria and they put it in table, so it's easily reviewed. I think I went over it. And they explained everything. The demographic and the perioperative characteristic of those 1,892. So I think the exposure was accurately measured without bias. And these are the criteria they studied for the co-management, the physical therapy, and they had measured both group surgical service management and geriatric co-management with the numbers. So let's say, for example, the physical therapy was in the surgical service management, 555, while 820 were in the geriatric co-management with a p-value less than 0.001. For example, the psychiatry, 41 for the surgical service management, while 55 of the geriatric co-management with the p-value equal to 0.53. So these are the criteria that they were measuring: the physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and swallow rehabilitation, psychiatry, nutrition, social work, and case management. And they also studied where the discharge location was, those patients after they undergo those cancer operation, where was their discharged to. So they studied how many of them went to home, how many of them went to home with home supportive service, hospice home with hospice or home with hospice, rehabilitation facility, transfer to another hospital. These are the things that they measured after the operation. What was the outcome accurately measured to minimize bias? So if we look at the result of their study, supportive therapy, they had also some adjustment. So they adjusted mortality, and they also studied the adverse surgical outcome. So these things that will basically can affect the result, they also studied. So they put adjusted mortality. So I'm gonna read through it a little bit so you guys can understand. In sensitivity analysis, all the risk of 90-day mortality in the geriatric co-management group was still statistically significant, lower compared with the surgery service group. So the incorporation of procedures type increases the risk of the most. And finally, fully adjusted model that include multiple variable adjusted for the sensitivity analysis, but not for the primary model. So geriatric co-management was significantly associated with 90 days mortality, even after they adjusted the mortality. About the adverse surgical outcome, adverse surgical outcome were experienced, and they studied this, they experienced by 401 patients. Unadjusted rate of adverse surgical outcome are listed in the table 5. So if they have any unadjusted, they also listed in a certain table. Adverse surgical outcome with 30 days of surgical treatment did not differ from the bias management group. So the probability of adverse surgical outcome adjusted for the covariant in our primary logistic regression model was 21.8 in surgical service group and 20 in geriatric co-management group. So I think after going through the result and their the adjustments at the other risks, I can say it was the outcome somewhat is accurately measured. The next question was about, have the author identify all important confounding factors. This is, I can't tell from the article if they adjusted all the confounding factors, but I can tell they have some certain things that they studied, like I just say the mortality rate or the some other factors in the mortality rate that has to do with surgical outcome that has nothing to do with the co-management, like the adverse surgical outcome and the support service and the discharge location. Have they taken account the confounding factor in design or analysis? Also, I can't tell from the table that they put if the confounding factor, but maybe through the result they did. So in my level of expertise, I can't tell if they are taking into account the confounding factors of the design for, so I don't know, maybe through further down through my fellowship, I will understand how to take account a confounding factor. But from the data that I have here, I can't tell if they took actually account the confounding factor in the result or no. This one also I can't tell. Was the follow-up in the subject complete enough? Yes, I think the follow-up was complete enough because 90 days post-operative was, for me, is enough to see if the co-management is has anything to do with the mortality, the 90-day mortality. So following up the patient for 90 days, I think it is complete enough because they have so many criteria that they were following up with a supportive care service. Was the follow-up subject long enough? Yes, this is the criteria, and the 90-day post-operative, I think it was, from my point of view, it's long enough to follow up somebody post-operatively. This I'm gonna put yes. And then what was the result? So the result of this, I want to say before the result also, this was a nice part of the article that I went through. They will, the author and the group of researchers, they posted the limitation and their strength of their study. I will go through the limitation of their studies. Our study has several limitations. First, this was not a randomized clinical trial. Patients were referred to the geriatric service or to the community primary care practitioner or specialist for preoperative evaluation, mainly on the basis of surgeons and patients' preference. So actually, this is not randomized because they were actually referred by surgeons, and also the patients, if they wanted to undergo the study, they asked to undergo the study. So this is not actually basically a randomized study. So this we'll see it later in the recommendation. There is a clinical trial about this question. Second, our study included heterogeneous mix of malignant neoplasm and surgical procedure, which also this is very important in the study. It differs because they didn't focus on only one type of surgery or one type of neoplasm. There were different types of neoplasm in the study. This will basically affect the mortality or the outcome of the surgery and outcome, basically regardless of co-management also. So this is also a very important limitation in the study. We lack information on perioperative system or preoperative system or radiation treatment the patient may have received, which is a very important point also, because these factors will affect mortality no matter if there is a co-management or no. We also have not have data on cancer stage. However, we anticipate that the effect of cancer stage in short-term mortality following surgical treatment would be small. The exact detail of the perioperative care process, such as treatment, optimization of comorbid condition, additional consultation, test requests by the geriatric service versus surgery team, and specific interventions in post-operative period. They also have not much information about that, are beyond the scope of this study and will be assessed in further studies. The good thing I want to say, also mention about this article, and they also included their strength, that our study also has several strengths. To our knowledge, this is the largest study to assess the role of geriatric co-management in patient age 75 years and older who underwent surgical treatment for cancer. The study spanned 3 years, 2015 to 2018, which is a considerable amount of time, reducing the possibility that advanced in surgical techniques or implementation of surgical quality improvement initiative influences the outcome. The short duration of the study also limit the possible association of other surgical quality improvement initiative with the outcome. So let's go back to see the conclusion of the study. The conclusion of the study is that this cohort study found that the geriatric co-management was associated with significant reduction in 90-day post-operative mortality among older patients with cancer. Geriatric co-management may improve patient's ability to survive adverse post-operative events. And this finding should be assessed and further by the conducting randomized clinical trial. So this is, I think, the end of the question list. What is the implication of the study for the practice? So from my point of view, they're implying that co-management of pediatric surgery patient should be included as like standard care. So this is have like the patient according to the patient care or according to the surgeon decision should be implied as a standard of care, because the number shows that there is a significant effect of reducing the mortality rate when incorporating geriatric co-management to the patient care. I here conclude my presentation, and I welcome any questions. I hope I can answer them. Thank you very much for listening.
Again, this is a great presentation. Thank you so much, Riam. This is to the point, and I think you went through the tool, the CASP tool, very well. You analyzed the article, and this is what we want to use that tool for. So you go, you read the article, and then you come and check all these questions, you answer them and see if this applicable. And the idea is to see if this can be applied to your practice, like when you have, like if you are primary care or you're a surgeon, you look at this and then say, oh, they conclude that the geriatric involvement in post surgical management is helping people to reduce mortality or morbidity. Then you will say, oh, maybe I will join this in the future. I will ask for referral to geriatrician to be involved. So I think this is a great one, and thank you. And choosing the topic is great also. So at least we as geriatricians are helpful according to this study. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Any questions? Raise your hand. In the meantime, if you can help me, can you go to table 1 again? So
table 1, yes.
Yes.
This
so
table?
basically, go ahead. Yes. So no, maybe go further up.
Further up.
Yeah. No, the other way. Scroll down.
The scroll down. You mean the inpatient supportive care?
The demographic of the study.
Oh, the demographic of the study. I think is further up. Yes, here.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you look at this, guys, when we talked about Hiba was talking about the mean. So if you look at the first line, the age, the mean is the number, the 80, and between that, between the parentheses, the number is standard deviation. So more or less 4 is here, and this can be applicable to the other variables here. Men against women, the second line. So the total number of men in the first group is 450, in the second group 488. So this is the total number of men, and if you subtract that number, you get the number of female. And the other way to do it is to see the percentage of these men out of the group, or the standard deviation. Then the length of stay, this is how many, I think, days or median days in the hospital. So you can see the number 4 against 5,
yeah,
and so forth. So what Hiba was mentioning, the statistical analysis, what you do is you collect every information and you create this table, the demographic table about the basics of the study participant characteristics, so that people, when they look at this table, they understand your cohort. Is it the same group of patients that I see, or if all these are young, like in their 40s, and I'm a geriatrician, this doesn't apply to me. Or if I'm a pediatrician, this will not apply to me, something like that. Thank you. Any questions, guys? Again, thank you, Hiba, and thank you, Wiam, for great presentations. If no questions, we can go to the next section.
The question about interpreting the results, because for me it was challenging. So can you please go over?
So basically, there are
I can go
variables
through
here.
the results because the results has so many numbers that actually I only the main result, but there is other what was it, the discussion, I think maybe from the abstract. Okay, so can you please interpret it, the result that they have in the study?
So the first
If you can actually see my screen.
Yeah, so you can close the cast window, the window on the, yeah. Or you can minimize that. So you can close, leave the site. You can leave the site if you want to click on leave. So we are not saving your.
I think
we are
Zoom
not.
is blocking my way. Let me see. Okay.
If
You
you
mean
click
just to
on
close
leave,
the whole?
no, click on leave, the blue icon on the right side.
Yes. Okay.
And then you can maximize this window.
Okay. Can't see because it's blocking my way.
Sure.
Okay, is it clear now?
Yeah. Perfect. So basically what they are saying here is that in the two groups, after surgery, they divide the group into surgical, like with only the regular care, or the other group with geriatric involvement. So the first paragraph here, I don't think there is much to it. It's just about the characteristic of the patients. So, and we mentioned that in table 1. And just to compare that, they are comparable between the two groups of the cohort of this study. Then if you go down, the mortality. So here the goal or the aim of the study is to see if there is difference in the mortality between the two groups. So they adjusted that into 90-day mortality between the two groups. And to analyze that, they use this multivariable logistic regression analysis. What they did is they are saying that how are they likely to die if they are in this group or that group. So they said maybe in the geriatric group, they were less likely to die within 60 days after surgery compared to the regular care after surgery. The odds ratio can give you an idea, or the confidence interval can give you a better idea as well. So the confidence interval here is 0.2 to 0.6, which is on one side of the number. If it's cross, let's say if it's minus and plus, that means cross number 1, or the 0, that's it's not as confident. But if it's only on the positive side or only on the negative side, then it's correlate well, or it's a good result or comparison. And the p-value will also help you understand. So it's p less than 0.1, which is what they are saying is valid, basically. So if you end up doing surgery and after surgery you are managed by a group that involves geriatrician, you are less likely to die within 90 days compared if you are going through surgery and then you are taken care by the regular primary care group, something like that. Does it make sense to for you as far as the first component of the result? And then they go into comparison of the probability of death in the group compared again with the number needed to treat. So it's kind of a different way of analyzing the data, but with some adjustment of the probability. So again, you want to say we expect if patient after surgery are treated with geriatrician in the group of managing this patient, there is less likely chance of dying, something like that. And then if you scroll down, scroll to the next page. Yeah. Okay, a request. Maybe I can. Can you hear me well? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry, I think my internet is not.
Okay, so this is about the mortality. If you scroll to the next page, it will be okay. Let's say, yeah, it's kind of slow, but the next page will go over the areas. So maybe if I can. Okay, so basically the table 2 or table 3 are the other factors that they want to include when you are talking about this group of patients. So after surgery, they may go to a nursing home, or they may go like a rehab center, or they go directly to their home, or they may transfer back to a different hospital for some. Or if they are at end of their life, maybe they will go to hospice care. So these different factors can contribute to the death of that patient. So if they are going to another hospital, most likely they will be taken care of 24 hours. Not when you compare them going to home, they will be seen by their families, and the care might not be as aggressive as at the hospital with the staff, the nursing staff available, the physicians available. So these are the factors that can contribute to the mortality or some. So when you compare this to this, there is like a p-value of 0.001 with hospice or home hospice. This is the only difference between the two groups that's significant. If you go up a little bit, then the other difference between the two groups is physical therapy, occupational therapy, 0.01, the table 2 here. Yeah. So the p-value is kind of 0.01. So basically, there is some factors that also helping when you are taking care of patients when you involve the geriatrician. If I'm making sense for you guys. Did I answer your question?
Because I don't know what internet is the thing. So yes, it answered my question. So the p-value, when they say it's less, when this is they're saying that it's insignificant factor.
The p-value.
They're actually saying it's
the p-value when it's less than. That means there is no chance of randomization affecting the results. The difference in the result is significant because we added something. In this case, we added the geriatrician to one group. So in one group, they die, let's say, 80% of the time. In the geriatric group, they die, let's say, 60% of the time, something like that. So if you compare the two groups, the difference between the two groups, is it according to the chance, just by chance happened, there is difference, or it's really, it's significantly statistically between the two groups because you introduced the geriatric management to the system between the two groups. If the p-value is less than whatever cut point in this,
yes.
then it's significant. By itself, the p-value, it will help you just statistically saying that it's significant, but you have to apply also that to your other characteristic or other variable when you are interpreting that. So if you go to their conclusion, they said the geriatric group, when they are involved in the management, it will help, something like that. The last line or the line before the last in the conclusion. Here in the conclusion, this cohort study found that geriatric co-management, so if you add geriatrician to this management group, it's associated with significant reduction in 90-day post-operative mortality. So the mortality rate, or when compared between the two groups, it's less or it's reduced when you add a geriatrician in the management team. In this group of patients, older patients with cancer who underwent surgery, basically. And then the other two sentences about so geriatric co-management may improve the patient ability to survive after this type of surgeries. And then they say basically further studies need to be done. And their weakness was that this is not randomized. So they highlight that they want to conduct a randomized clinical trials that will further either document what they found or will say, oh, no, there is no difference.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Nadir, for interpreting the result. Thank you very much.
Welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions from the group? Thank you.
Yes, I have a question regarding, actually very interesting, and thank you for your explanation. I just very confused, and it could be a very naive question from me, but I see here they report the odd ratio and it's a prospective cohort study. Why they don't report a relative risk while we, yeah, that's our result, right? So could you answer me in this? And also after other part, that other question is in question 5 in the CASP, is they handle the confounder good. I think it's, yeah, they handle it good because they after they make a result of a mortality before unadjusted before making other variables that could be a confounder, and then they put it in the logistic regression and they put other variables that may contribute, I think in the table, which is the physical therapy and nutrition, and we could see from the b value there is some of them have a significant b value. So I think that's my other point. But my question is, Why we report odd?
That's a great question, and the second part is also great. I agree with you. For the second part, is that they address some of the when they mention the question in the CASP, I think question 5 or so. So they addressed some, but the question will be answered yes. They address the co-founder or whatever term that they use. For the first question, Hiba, it's a great question. Why did they do that? I think that might be a homework for you for next, or maybe someone else, if someone available to highlight why we use the
odd ratio in a prospective cohort
study. Yeah, or yes. So that might be a good, and we can explain this better next time.
Okay, I will try to answer this, and hopefully also other people from my. I will do that in the I will post that in my team and the red team, so we can next time we can come up with a answer for that.
Excellent. And follow up with this is they use certain methods here. So they used for their analysis. Maybe someone can also explain. I think you mentioned in your first presentation about the analysis, like the mode,
yes.
And one of them is regression.
The multiple regression. So that's multiple regression, but when this is the outcome, I think quantitative. Logistic regression is for when our outcome is a categorical, like this one, there is a death or there's no death.
Yeah, so multivariable logistic regression model of the 90 days. So why did they use that, for instance? Maybe someone who can explain that. Is there any tools or tests that we can use beside that? And if there is, why they use this, not the other one? Something like that. So
I can answer this now.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, so for this, because our questions is the reduction in mortality. Does we have a reduction or we don't? So this a categorical outcome that we're looking for. So particularly for, and hopefully, please, everyone, if you see me explaining wrong, jump in and stop me, okay?
Sure.
So yeah, and for when we have a categorical outcome and our independent variable is a mix between continuous and categorical, we use this type of test, logistic regression. So opposite to the one I discussed, which is the multiple regression, where my dependent variable, which is the outcome, is number, is continuous. So this is why we use this.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but my question is, what we're gonna answer is why we use odd in a prospective cohort specifically, and if you can share with me on this website, so we can do that as a homework and go and read this particular study in depth.
Sure. I will post the PDF for this article in the group, and
thank you very much.
Can do this homework. Yes. Thank you very much, Hiba.
Thank you both. Thank you, everyone. So I see Mulham is here. So if there is no other questions, I really appreciate your input and your presentation, both of you, Hiba and Mi'am. Thanks for doing that for the group. And if do we have the next section ready, or we can ask Mulham to jump in for now. All right, let's ask Mulham if he's ready. Maybe you can, if you have questions, guys, for Mulham, let's switch gear about the interview skills and tips and how you answer questions, how you use your body language, whatever. So Mulham, are you with us or you're far away?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm sorry about that.
Hello. That's all right.
Thank you for providing me this opportunity. And sorry, I didn't hear so is this my time or is there something at the moment? I'm not sure.
So we think you are busy. So if you are here, maybe we can take your time, and then when you're done, we can go to the other part of the agenda.
Okay.
If people agree, if someone else is ready to go for the next section, let me know. Not, I think it's your time, Mulham.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nader. And thank you everyone for providing me this opportunity and listening to my tips. So I would like to start with what we started and spoke about last week, and I hope that it's something that will be beneficial to everyone. So what we started and spoke about yesterday, sorry, not yesterday, last week, which was the interviews, tips, and most importantly, the focus on giving the time to prepare for the interviews, and most important, the practice wise. So whenever you're thinking about interviews, you need to be thought deeply. It's not just an interview, but this is an opportunity that's provided to you. They want you. So the most important thing is making sure that you prepare for it in the right way. The right mindset is very crucial for it. So making sure that you are preparing, and most important thing really is practice and making sure that you're relaxed and ready for that opportunity. I don't want to speak much about it because then I'm not providing the time for everyone to ask questions. And I think that's more important than speaking right now, because last week we spoke about a lot of points in the importance of questions and practicing and providing a lot of focus on the practice part, smiling part, and being engaging during the interviews, trying to utilize everything you can in terms of the internet. For instance, if you know someone or the names of the interviewers, you try searching them, their projects, what are the future projects that they're working on, and conferences that they attended, what are their interests, what are their hobbies. That's crucial because that's probably what they will ask you based on your CV's part. That can give you, or that's the best predictor of questions during the interview, really. And that helped me a lot during my interviews, as I was able to tell where it will go. And if somebody's a researcher, most probably going to ask me about Michigan State University research projects here, and what I have done, what I'm aiming for in the future. So such questions, which are not classic, but it will be there, and you can predict it just by knowing who the person in front of you is, and what have he done, and what is he looking for in a candidate. And that's how can you tell exactly what they're looking for. Like, for instance, some programs, they're looking towards someone whose CV is more clinical. Some others, they're looking towards someone who's more clinically oriented, but having some other skills like teaching skills, some other research skills. So you'd be able to tell based on their CVs, based on their, for instance, Doximity is one of the areas where you can find their recent research projects, their honorships, awards, and so on. But I don't want to speak more. I know I've said that, but I spoke for a couple of minutes now. Sorry about that. But I'll provide the space for everyone to ask their questions, and from there we can hopefully provide a better understanding of a couple of things that need to be understood, because there's a lot of areas to discuss. So I will give the space for everyone. Thank you. Is there anyone who has a question? Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Mohammed. Thank you very much for your time, and we really appreciate that, your presence. So I have a questions regarding me specifically. So in case you did mistakes in your applications and it went unrecognized and they select me, for example, for an interview, what would be for like instant the date? You just write it wrong, and you spell something wrong in your CV, and the date specifically. What would be like the most approach? Is being honest or just بالعربي كده بتتفهلوا to make it a very like wide response, or what would the best approach in circumstances like this?
Thank you, Eva, for this question. And yeah, this is an important question. And so the first thing is, we sometimes think that we are having some parts of our CV which are really bad, and most probably they don't like. When they provided your interview, they really liked you as a whole. Now, they might have some questions based on who they are as a program, so they will definitely focus on that part. So sometimes they won't. It's based on how the person in front of you. Apologize about that. So it's all based on who the person is, but most probably we need to prepare for that question just in case. And sorry, that interrupted and helped me to lose my focus. But sorry, can you repeat the last part of your question?
Like what's the best approach in if you have a mistakes, you done it, like you change the date, yeah. And you don't mean, sometimes I do this mistake all the time, I flip things. So, and I see it and I review it 100 times, believe me, and I see it the same, that it's correct. And this could be like, you know, it doesn't match my CV, like there is problem in my CV when you look at it, because the date is overlapping, how it could be here and here, because I just flipped the dates. So yeah. In this case, what's like the best approach? Like say, this is a mistake, or what's the best approach? So
yeah, I really think that the best approach is being frank, because they have dealt with many applicants, and they know exactly that if somebody is lying, they would know immediately, because they have seen a lot of answers. What they like and they respect if you say the exact answer, but at the same time, what is the exact answer? If the truth is really bad, try to be careful there. So you're trying to make sure that you're not touching on that, because then you're completely omitting yourself from being provided the opportunity there. Let's say, for instance, if you say, well, technically I haven't done that. Well, that's really huge issue, because it's a professional thing that they would consider, because every act they would consider it immediately for, let's say, an intern or a resident. So they will consider you as a bad applicant for a future intern. So that's how they would think about it. So, but let's say you said, well, technically what happened is I made a mistake in terms of the date. I do apologize about that. But let me tell you about this experience. So yeah, you will be placing what you said initially, which is pahlawa, kind of. But at the same time, you would make sure that you say the truth to a degree, not completely. You can't say that I didn't do that, but if that's the situation, because it will look bad, and they will not consider that as to impair the application completely. In my situation, for instance, I had a lot of things that happened. One of them, for instance, the score, they went and discussed about that in detail. So the best way, if they ask, now many of the programs didn't ask that, but one or two only asked. So in that situation, the best way is to be sincere, but at the same time, to a degree, not completely. So what I said is, if I do have an opportunity, I know I don't have this opportunity right now, but if I had that opportunity, I would have changed my approach to what I did. So first, I would have discussed with my seniors, attendings, or if I had that opportunity in a hospital, to know exactly how they are interacting with such exams, and to learn the best resources, to learn the skills needed, so that I can attain the best scores for this exam, as it's really an important exam, and it changes our life and allows us to reach our dreams. So I did provide an answer, but I touched on other areas based on that, which they really respected. So being sincere, but giving a broader answer on another part, which is how or what it showed you and allowed you to improve. And if you had that opportunity, what would you have done to change it? I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it's answered my question. I think it's given me a clue to how to, because I've been thinking a lot about this question. You know, we always do mistakes and it happens. But I think it could be approaches being wide, like, yes, I have an experience here and here, and here regarding here, you can jump, I did that and that and that and that and that. Because do you think if I just go straight, yes, it is a mistake. It may show them I'm not a detail-oriented person. I just confirm it, or I will be focused. So it's, which one do you think is?
It's better to say it, but then
Expand.
sorry, there's like an echo in the sound. It's all right. So it's better to say the answer as it is. Say, yeah, I did this mistake, but I'll try to explain to you what happened, and then provide your answer.
Okay.
But take your time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you, Dr. Mulham. That's.
You're welcome.
Can I add just a little bit? I agree with Mulham totally. And in case if you put a date that's wrong, I think you can completely be honest about it and say the same way Mulham mentioned. You can say, "Oh, this is a mistake that I make, and I wish I had the ability to revise that." But the problem is, once you submit it, you cannot retrieve and adjust that. And let me talk about the experience itself. So you draw the attention out of the problem that you already admitted that it's a mistake, and every one of us can make a mistake. Nothing out, but don't focus on it, because if, let's say, they will ask you 10 questions, one of them might be the question about the dates mismatch or something. Out of these 10, 9 of them you might answer well and good. This one you will be honest about it and you will show them. Don't get that into you, putting you down or anxious or whatever, because it will show that they can just ignore everything else if you are ignoring everything else. But if you are approaching the question with enthusiasm and honesty and telling them the truth, but at the same time you highlight what you are experiencing, what benefit you gain, what you are doing about it, what you plan to do with that program. So instead of focusing on, let's say, red flags, you don't want to focus on that. You want to explain your situation in a way, but at the same time, you have opportunity to divert or to take them with you in another place where you can explain things and tell stories or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nader. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mulham, too.
Go ahead, Sumi.
Hi, Mulham. Nice to see you again. I have a question that I know this was asked so many times, but still, like, I'm struggling to answer that question. Like, how to explain, like, if the program director or the faculty asks, like, what is your weakness? What's the best way to explain it? If you can just refresh my mind, my brain, that would be great. Thank you, Mulham.
Thank you, Sumi. It's good to hear you again. So this question is really important, and definitely it's asked in almost every interview, which is, what is your weakness? So they are looking for an answer which is sincere. At the same time, it tells who you are. It allows them to understand, for instance, a part of you, show a true weakness, and then trying to show how can you use that weakness in your residency. For instance, there is a lot of things that can be said, but there's things that not to be said. Most important thing is to know what not to be said. For instance, saying I'm a perfectionist, or I have OCD when I have, now saying, for instance, being OCD, that's all right, but saying, for instance, because of that, I'm a perfectionist, or I always try to do the things in a certain way. So there's many things that are said usually which are repetitions. They don't like to hear that. They say, okay, sure. So the most important thing is not to repeat an answer. If it is repeated, it should be in your own style, like applying some things based on your CV to make sure it's more unique to you, so they can really sense that part. For instance, what I use is something from my own experience, that I used to be a shy person. I am at many phases, but I have developed in a lot of phases to be able to express myself. Now, I made sure that they understood that and understood the transition that it happened in my life, where I was. I gave them a story for about almost 2 to 3 minutes. It started with during college. I knew the importance of it because of how I'm interested in medicine and my interaction with patients. So that changed everything. I started noticing what is need to be done. So interaction with my patients, interaction with my colleagues, attendings. And so I started being more involved, like even in teaching sessions. And so that became something then after into an enjoyment phase, which is, that's why I started to be involved in teaching after college and after here in the US. So that's something that they enjoyed to listen. So I was able to incorporate part of that story with my CB actually, which they were able to understand, whoa, actually he utilized a skill while having a weakness. And then he's actually not that yet, he's also looking to improve. Because what I said at the end is of my answer is, I have improved, but I'm still looking to improve more, as I still believe there's a lot of room for improvement. And that's really needed to make sure that I provide the best outcome to my patients in the future. So that's why I have applied to your program. And I'm looking to have that opportunity to train in your program to attain that skill, because that will be something that is crucial for me in the future. So as you can see, it's different sections in the answer. It involves first a true weakness and how I learn from it and how I aim to use it as part in terms of interaction with the patients and the skill itself until the last phase and what I'm aiming to improve from it. So all those are the points included in the answer. Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Sumi.
Thank you, Mulham. Yeah. That's explained it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I think Abby raised her hand. If you have question, please go ahead, Abby.
Yeah. Hi, Somi. Thank you, Mulham, for helping us. I have a question. I just want to ask you, what is the best example to give during the interview if they ask me about the medical error? Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Abir, for this question. So when they ask about medical errors, so the question is aimed for true clinical scenarios. So we have dealt with patients before, either during college or following that. So you need to make sure you have had a true scenario of a medical error. And then the goal is to make sure it's a story. Like, so it has an introduction, 55 years old, or even actually before starting the answer, you need to make sure you're getting their attention. So the way to say it is, for instance, this is an interesting story that I had during college. So this is a patient who's 57 years old, male, with a past medical history of so on and so on, admitted with so on and so on. And then that's how it's said. So you are presenting it in a certain way, it should be in a transitional way, it's very smooth. They need to enjoy the story. So, but that's a skill itself. So you're training by practicing, but make sure you first think about your answer. What is that scenario? Is it SLE, rheumatoid arthritis, RA, or cancer patient? What was interesting to you? And what skill did you learn from there? Is it allowed you to know the importance or how medicine is interesting, or how medicine is broad, or what is the thing unique about it? For instance, if that's an interesting case, but medical error is most probably towards a mistake that you did, and then you learn from it. So for instance, you missed some part in your history one time, and it was catastrophic. The patient went to, let's say, being intubated, entering into ICU, but they survived at the end. So that's probably how you'll end the story. Yeah. But what did you learn? And how did you utilize that skill? For instance, based on a mistake, you probably have provided a skill or utilized a skill, which is the checklist. You make sure you are attaining it, using it in every day to make sure that you don't do this mistake in the future. So you say, well, what I'm doing right now is I'm having a checklist, making sure that I'm taking everything in there to make sure I don't miss anything. And that allowed me to improve my approach to interacting with patients and not to miss things during my rounds, during my either internship or being as a student. So I think that's something that they're looking for, which is a complete story. And that's usually what they're looking for. Sometimes we do provide them in different ways, but the best way is a story, like starting with where it was, the location, and then the story itself, and what have you learned from it. And yeah, the thing that you learned, you will use for the patient in the future, and that you're looking for more skills to learn when you start residency training. I hope that answers your question. And I do apologize, I'll just take a couple of minutes. I was paged a couple of times. I need to respond to the pages, and I'll return back in hopefully in 5-10 minutes. I do apologize about that.
Sure, no problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you again. We'll be waiting
Thank
for
you.
you. Thanks. Take your time. So Samah has a question, or raise your hand.
Yes, I'm raising my hand.
Go ahead, yes.
Yeah. Just I wanted to ask, please, Dr. Nader, if I have to mention an example for every behavioral question, when they ask me in the interview for a behavioral, something. So if I have to give an example for everything, or just I can, sometimes I can omit it.
You can definitely omit it. I think it depends on the interview, like how it goes. I don't think they will focus on the behavior questions on every question they ask you. I think the idea is they want to know you more. If you come to the interview with this mentality, then you just try to sell yourself. If you sense that a question has a component of behavior, they are looking for that, then you can apply the concept of adding some stories, and you can answer in a way that you can explain yourself better that way. I don't think you need to add stories to every question. I will add though that if you have some stories, what you can say is you answer the question briefly, and then again give them a bit or a sentence that is incomplete to draw their attention that there are more to come, or something that you want to tell, but because of the time you are limited. You want to answer their question to the shortest answer, but still you have something to tell. And they might be curious, and then they will follow up with more questions about. So you are basically leading them to, if you have a story you want to add, you can just tell them, by the way, I like fish. Or they will ask you about fish, and then you can tell, oh, I have this and this and this, something like that. So, but I don't think they will focus on the behavior in every question. They may ask you simple short questions, or clarify some of your CV or your personal statements, some areas. They want to know you better. They want to know your communication skills. You can understand them. You speak well. You can express yourself well. Your body language. You are not a problem for the program. Basically, you will be a good fit to that program. You will work with your seniors, with attending, with staff, nursing staff, other staff well. You will treat them well, and you will cause no problem for the program. If you have some behaviors that during the interview you are aggressive, or some arrogant, or some thing that they will notice, they will say, oh, look at him, this is too arrogant for us, or this is aggressive in his or her behavior, or they don't recognize their shortcomings or mistakes. So if you have a mistake, you admit that mistake, and you want to get a plan to fix that mistake. Let's say you did not score well in step 1. So they will say, why did you score that low, for instance? So they don't want you to explain about your situation at that time. You were sick, or your father was sick, something like that. And their question is, they know there is some reason behind that, and you can tell them the reason, but this is not the main area they want to know. They want to know how you can overcome similar situation. Because what happened is when you join the program, you're gonna get step 3. If you did not do it, you're gonna sit for the board exam at the end of the program, and they want you to succeed. So if you show them that I didn't score well in step 1 because of my father was sick, but this is what is my plan. If I have the opportunity to do it again, this is what I'm gonna do. This. And my approach now, I learned from my mistake that with all these circumstances happen, I should prepare in advance. For instance, I don't have to wait until last couple of months for a test because things will happen, something like that. So they want you to show them that you have plans. Either in the past you did that, or your way of thinking of anticipating problems and how you solve it. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer, Dr. Nader.
You're welcome. Any other questions? If you have some, you can write them in the chat. We can give it to Mulham when he comes back. Otherwise, we can switch to the next. What other part of the program of the meeting? Hiba, maybe you can help me with that.
Pardon me, Dr. Nadia, I didn't hear well.
So what else we have to do on this meeting?
Actually, this is all our agenda for this meeting is
okay.
Yeah, just the CASP and the quantitative data and Dr. Mulham presence. Okay. And that's all for today. Maybe we can prepare for the next agenda.
Good
if you would like.
Let's do that next agenda. So any suggestions before we go into what I think we can talk about how we summarize a research article, if someone can do that. There are steps to just take a summary of an article so that you can, it's like take away message out of an article. If someone can show us how we can do that in simple steps. If someone also can show us some of the basics, like next.
This is Dr. Hadil. She said she will, because she has the app. She already has a subscription, so she can deal with you through it. She doesn't need to prepare anything there, right? You said already the data is over there. Okay.
Okay, and then if we can continue also doing the same what you did today, if someone else can do the same, maybe two, one will focus on the article and one will focus on the CASP, and then we can go over it and see if we can do that. That might be good exercise. Any other suggestions? And also, of course, interview tips if we have someone to help us with some tips on skills or experience, or maybe by that time you have some interview invitation, maybe you can help us. Anything else you want to add to this agenda, guys?
So we have the questions that we raised, why we do report odd ratio for our prospective study. So is Dr. Ala team is going to do that, or it's just voluntarily for anyone?
Something like that.
Yeah, why we report odd ratio in a cohort study.
Okay.
So yeah.
No, that reason.
Yeah, I will try to find that. I know just we do report odd ratio when we have a rare outcome is less than 10%, but here this outcome is not rare, I believe so. So why do we report it?
Sounds good. Excellent. Anything else you want to add, guys, on this agenda for next week? or any suggestions as far as what you want to learn or you want to focus on. One more item is if someone can update about current research project, if the team leader or the project leader can update us with this. Thank you. Anything else or suggestions for next week or the future? If not, maybe we can talk about, okay, go ahead, Wiam, you have a question or comment?
Yes, I was suggesting, actually, I benefited a lot from reviewing the article. I can do it next week. If Hiba, you want to team with me with the questions, that would be great.
I don't think I would, because my step 3 is within 2 weeks.
No, we're not gonna. I'm gonna review the article. I'm gonna be the reading, and you just say the questions and analyze it.
Okay, definitely. Okay, so
and then we'll help
contact
you.
Yeah.
That will help you with the odd ratio things.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Wiam. Excellent. Thank you so much. And any updates about the projects I want to share with you? I don't see Krupa with us here, but she emailed me, and 2 of the abstracts, they were accepted and presented in one of the conferences internationally, and now she submitted them to Medscape, I think, and they were accepted as well. So that's a good thing. Thank you for the team or teams who were working on these projects.
This is a big celebration. Congratulations, guys, for this achievement. It's really well done.
It is well done, and it's excellent work, hard work. Thank you, everyone. Good. Congratulations. Any other updates?
I was just wanting to add one thing before we end. Our heart is with our people in Sudan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make things easy for them. They're going through a very difficult time now. And we're not able to do anything just by praying. So inshallah, everybody will pray for them to just pass this difficult period.
I mean, inshallah. This is nice, and everyone, we ask you to pray for the people in Sudan. Hopefully it will pass and things will go in the right direction soon. Welcome back, Dr. Mulham.
I'm sorry about this.
Assalamu alaikum. No problem.
I'm not sure. Is there something being discussed at the moment, or?
We just discussed like the current projects and updates about what's happening, but we are waiting for you. So it's if anyone has more questions for Dr. Mulham, he's available. I can start with just I talked to them about how you can answer a question and then give them a bit. Maybe you can help me with that skill.
Thank you, Dr. Nader. So, sorry, the page just cut me off there in my thought process. Sorry. Sorry, Dr. Nader, you said a important point here. You said that it's important to have an answer and then end it in a bit. So this is really it's something that it's not easy to be done. It's much easier said than done. I tried a lot of times initially, and I kept on failing when I tried. That's why I'm saying practice, 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 and having not 1 or 2 partners, maybe 10, maybe more. I was fortunate that I started with 5 or 10. I ended by about almost 20 practice partners. It was many days very tiring because after returning from work at 3, 4, or 5, or sometimes 6, I would start immediately the training from 7 to 12 and sleep and keep going every day. Because this is something that needs to be done, and 4 hours is something we should sacrifice because it's so close. And I'm really today here just to provide you the motivation and support to say you can do it, you're close, you are smart, you have done everything that needs to be done. So it's so close, just a couple of more hours, practice, try to do this or that, and you will achieve it because you deserve it. You have done everything. You have done your step 1, your CK, UCS. This is it, really. So anytime if you need me for practicing or anything, I'm here for you. We are all here for you, really. And what Dr. Nader did here for us, for all of us, really, it's really huge. It does make a lot of difference in terms of skill-wise, in terms of opportunity to learn and to present, because to present is a skill itself and it's needed. So yeah, every one of us needs to try their best, and you are doing your best, I know that. And make sure you practice. Really, it's important. 1 or 2 parts is not sufficient. More than that's needed, because then you would know what's really is missing. You never know what's missing unless you practice with more partners. And try to have a mix. Don't go always to your friends. I've noticed the majority prefer their friends. Try to have your friends, but also some people you don't know. That's crucial because they'll give you some really important tips that you won't hear from somebody like your colleagues or your friends. Your colleagues will say, well, you are doing great, keep going, and so on. You know, that's what we need to hear to motivate us. But what is missing? That's something they might be afraid to say at times. So make sure you practice with some of your friends and from the internet. Actually, there's a lot of groups there. You can find a lot of partners, and I was fortunate to have that. And I think there is more groups right now, so you can even have more partners to practice with. And I think the most important part is the practice part, and make sure you're comfortable, because the only thing which makes us do bad during the interviews is being stressful. So yeah, mistakes happens, but make sure if it happens, you try to reach your comfort zone, because then you'll be able to present yourself in a good way. I had a lot of bad presentations at many phases when I was trying to do a lot of things. Still I do, but I try to always notice them and stop when it happens and try to reach my comfort zone and then to keep on going. I remember my first interview, it was terrible, but then I noticed a mistake, stopped, and I tried to get it better. Eventually, by the end, it improved. And I think it's important to try to improve. Don't just say it's just a bad interview. It will keep on. No. Try to work on it immediately. And sorry about that. So yeah, most important thing is trying to keep your focus. I'm not able to keep my focus. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's not here. So it's not called blue. But what I'm trying to say is I lost track. Yeah, so most important thing is the practice part. And with practice, you would notice certain skills. For instance, I noticed the importance of smiling. At the same time, you would know when to smile and when to be serious. For instance, there will be sessions during the presentation where you'll be, I've noticed that there's a question here. Sure, anytime, really. Please send me an email and we can arrange some time to practice. Thank you, Dr. Shaima. So I was saying right now that it's important to, you're very welcome. Practicing will allow you to notice certain things. For instance, the smiling part, when to smile, when to make sure you're providing the skills needed. And during your interviews, you would notice there is different things that happen. You need to react accordingly. They are assessing you as a potential intern. And that's something many wouldn't know. They would just say, this is an interview. Really, you have that opportunity if you got an interview. If not yet, it will happen soon. Still, it's early. It's we're beginning of November, hopefully in the next couple of days. You will have that opportunity. Try to make sure you are sending emails. Don't forget the importance of emails. I did get a couple of interviews, actually, 1 or 2, just by emailing to programs. So that's something also needed. Make sure you send to programs. Don't, and most important, know to who to send, the program coordinator, and try to send in a certain way, for instance, mentioning who you are and what makes the program unique to you and what skills do you have that they're looking for. So a couple of points that you mention in a certain way and parts of your CV, and don't forget your AMC ID. That's something that they're looking for. If they're interested, they would send you directly an invite. And hopefully, I wish everyone is having a good season, and I hope that soon, if you haven't had yet an interview, you'll get your first invite. And then try to provide the time for that interview. If you have your interview very soon, make sure you keep on practicing. That's the most important thing. Don't stress yourself about what should I do, what should I don't do. That's a practice. That's the most important thing you can do. Because without practice, we tend to do mistakes. And my first interview, I practiced less, so I tend to do more mistakes. And by the second, I did more interview practices. That's where I improved better. So generally, I would say practice, practice, and keep on practicing. And I'll stop talking because I want to give you the space so that you can speak more. And I'll provide first Dr. Nader the space if he would like to add more on my points. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is great information. Thank you for sharing your experience. And again, I think one thing you can do is when you do the practice, you will increase your confidence level, your way of talking, your expression, and it will be a second thing to most common questions. You will not think about the answers. The answer is there. You just verbalize it. And then you will play with your body or something. So you will have a chance to convey the message clearly if you have the answer ingrained in your mind. So when you practice, your confidence level increase significantly, as Mulham mentioned. But at the same time, even if you are confident, let's say your confidence level is 100 and you are in an interview, there are 10 questions. Some of them you already have the answer ready for them. Maybe one or two, there are surprising questions. So expect that you are prepared well, but there are some that you are not prepared for them. In these cases, you don't want to get anxious or back or some. You try to answer the question as much as you can with honest answers, clear answer. And if something not you don't know, just mention it frankly. I don't know, but I will get back to you. Something in these lines, like you want to be careful, but at the same time, don't get this take you away from the 8 good questions that you answered very good. So don't get anxious, don't get focus on the bad answers during your interview if you did a bad answer. And if the whole interview didn't go well, that's also by itself, it's a good practice for you. Take it as a way of analyzing what went wrong in this interview and try to focus on correcting it. As Mulham mentioned, he was not prepared well for the first interview. Now he analyzed that he needs some more practicing, and he did the practicing. And the second interview, maybe it went much better compared to the first one, if that's correct.
Thank you, Mulham, and thank you, Dr. Nadir. I just want to, I would like to, convey my sincere gratitude to Mulham, because he is still, I can see that he's in the clinic, and also his pager keeps beeping. Still, he's trying to help us, and that shows that how dedicated he is for his colleagues and for us. So thank you so much, Mulham. Like, while managing your clinical duties and all that, you still found time for us. And this is the example. And I think we all should do these things to our peers. Thank you again, Mulham.
Thank you so much for this really great words. Really, we are all striving for this opportunity. And I'm really glad that I'm able to be here today and speak with everyone and see you again, everyone, because I know how important this is for all of us. So it's important whenever we have this opportunity to give back as much as we can, because the process is really tough and at many times it's not right. So when we have the opportunity, we need to give our hand and try to assist. Inshallah, this year it will be for all. Hopefully everyone in this group and beyond to get the interviews and to match, because you really all deserve, you have great CVs. I was fortunate to work with many last year and I've seen the personalities, and the most important is always the personality. And I was fortunate that I learned from all, really, the skills, personalities, and I really hope that if I'm able to say something that's beneficial to anyone, that's something I'm really glad with. And I hope that I wasn't just wasting your time, everyone here. That's my really main aim. And thank you for listening to me, really, I appreciate that, thank you. And I hope that there is more questions. Yeah, if there's any questions, I'm ready.
Go ahead, Slafa.
Thank you so much, Mulhim, for your time. It really so helpful. It was really so helpful. I'm sorry, my question is in the article, like, but I will wait till all questions for Mulhim, Dr. Mulhim.
Sure. No worries. Hiba, I think you have.
Yes, I just would like to thank Dr. Mulhim for his presence today. And you're not wasting your time. Actually, we are the one who's taking from your valuable time and that time for your patients and giving us that really mean a lot for me, and I'm pretty sure for my other colleagues. So don't say that, you're not wasting your time. Actually, I'm gaining confidence from what you're saying. And really, I'm trying to make like note from everything that you provide us since the start. And again, thank you, and have a nice day today, and wish you the best in your career.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I wish you all the best and good luck to you and to everyone here. Really wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Samah, you have a question for Dr. Mulham?
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Mulham.
Alaikum assalam.
Yeah. So, Dr. Mulham, I have a problem with my, what do you call it? Can you tell us about yourself? If they ask me this question, when I'm practicing, I have, I receive different ideas. Some people, they say it's less than 2 minutes, but some people say you have to omit some things, and some people say you have to add some things. So if you never mind, if I ask you now, if you can tell us about yourself, if you remember the answer of this question, please.
Yeah. So to be frank with you, I did think that this is the toughest question to just say, which is to speak about yourself, because there is no way to say it, how to start, like I started from here or there. So it really is a kind of a tougher question, but the most important thing is to recall why are they asking this question? If you know exactly why they're asking this question, it becomes much easier. And then you don't really need to prepare for the answer. It becomes just a flow, because you'll start from any area and then keep going. And then most probably will stop you and start listening to your story. So for my first probably interview, I didn't have that part about the question, but that's why my answer wasn't as prepared. But for the next couple of interviews, I made it based on who is my interviewer. So for instance, if I'm being interviewed by, let's say, a researcher, I would start somewhere, let's say at any area, but try to emphasize more in the research part, giving it a more space, speaking about my projects, because I know that they will be listening to that part. The most important area that you shouldn't forget is your hobbies, because this shows that you have life out of residency. So most probably you will think that if you have the opportunity to be a resident, you have a life out of it, because it's a very stressful phase that they know that, and they expect you to have some part to relieve that stress. So make sure you end your answer by a hobby. What are your hobbies? Because that's actually the bait, which that will provide them an opportunity to ask more. So if you have, let's say, 4 or 5 hobbies, that's like a bait probably would ask you about 2 or 3 of those hobbies, and you would be spending about 3 or 4 minutes instead of entering into a new second question or third or fourth and wasting time on certain areas. And actually, they would recall you based on your hobbies and based on those points. So the debate that you're placing at the end of the answer is crucial, because they would remember you by it. You'll be special, and they would like you because you have answered them in a certain way, which is different. It's not the classic. Now, the importance of practice, it makes you comfortable. And as Dr. Nader mentioned, the confidence level gets higher. So then you'll be able to answer it. I can't right now say an answer because it will be starting from here or there. There's no specific answer that I had. And I think the best way is not to have a fixed answer, because that makes you under stress. For instance, when you are in the interview, if you have a certain answer which is fixed, you'll be like, whoa, I need to say it in this way or in that way, or I missed a certain area. So you won't be able to be comfortable. So make sure you just practice a lot. That will help to solidify your story, your CV, and what is important. But at the same time, don't forget who is in front of you. That's more important. Like, is it an APD, a program director, someone who's interested in research? For instance, your answer would change a bit if you're speaking with a chief resident or part of the residents, because they're more considered to be interested about the program, who you are, your hobbies, rather than the research and all that. So the person in front of you is really important to really try to engage. The goal is here, communication at a different level. That's the point of, and really why this is the start, like who you are. That's what the question aims for. You just giving them space so they can ask you. Make sure you assess your CV and who you are and what is more unique. And then you can start your answer. It can start as, well, I was born in so on and so on, and I come from a family of so on and so on. And then I love traveling. That's why first I was born in this country, traveled to this country, and so on and so on. So it is like a story, actually. You're telling it in a certain way. Then you can start speaking on the, so then you can start speaking on the other phases, which are also crucial in your CV, which are the medical stuff. Most important thing, don't emphasize on the awards, the honor degrees and all that, because that's not what they're looking for. They know it already. Try to leave it somewhere. If they ask that, then you can actually say or mention that part. Try to be sincere and try to have that, just give them that phase, or at least sense of that is a flow, and know that who you are, like in a certain way. I hope that answer provides you the exact what you're looking for
really
in terms of preparing.
Really informative. Thank you so much, Mulham.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much. Any more questions? If not, I think Mulham has been paged a couple of times. And really, I agree with Sumi, Hiba, and the rest who thank you. And we cannot thank you enough for your time while you are on call and answering all these pages. And really, any information you shared with us will be treasured, and hopefully it will help all of us who apply this year. Thank you, Mulham. And we can let you go if there is no more questions for him. Okay. Thank you, Mulham. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Dr. Nader, and thank you everyone for providing this opportunity. Really, I'm glad to be with you here.
Thank you, Mulham.
Thank you.
So nice to see you again.
Thank you. Bye. So thank you, everyone. Sulava, go ahead. You have a question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nader. So just my question with the same discussion, Hiba and Wiam, like, why this article use the odd ratio while it is retrospective? So I'm interested, like, whether is this because it is logistic regression? When we use logistic regression, we usually speak in terms of odds. So like, I think so. Maybe that's one of the cause. Other cause, I'm not sure what software they're using. Usually SAS use odd ratio even with prospective cohort where we use relative risk. So I'm not sure whether this could be an answer or not.
So great question again. And as Hiba will find out, and maybe next week we will have a clear answer. And again, when we look at, that's a good one, but I want to highlight another part of the CASP. When we use that tool, sometimes we can answer the questions right away. Sometimes it might be ambiguous or not clear. Sometimes you can say, no, this question was not answered in the article. And so maybe next week we can look at a different article and see if we come across this. But Hiba and maybe some of the group will clarify this odd ratio kind of usage. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just want to make a quick comment for Dr. Salva, if you allow me. Yeah, she's right. I think her now makes sense because in the study they said they used the logistic regression for analysis. So yeah, I think we can go from there and understand more.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you so much, everyone. And if no questions, I wish you all the best. I wish you a wonderful day or night. And again, keep praying for our people in Sudan. Hopefully things will go the right way, and we pray for them. Thank you. Thanks for coming and joining the Zoom meeting. Have a wonderful day. See you next week. If you have questions, let me know, email or text me. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Nad.
Thank you, guys.